key word there is choice is a lifestyle. And that is where we are trying to go. It is having the words that are in those affirmation statements be the majority of what they think on a daily basis. This was a vision statement that one of the youth did at the presentation that we did before. They were still struggling to kind of come up with their own words of what does vision look like and what is a vision statement. And so they started pulling from people that inspired them, and now they're starting to invent their own words in space. So the next slide is the reinvention of these words, but put into their own words. So we had asked them to take a statement, one of these things here that meant something to them, and then put it in their own words. And I just want, you guys can read these on your own as I continue to speak, but there's two in here that really got me. I can't change what I am destined to be. I am destined to be what I choose to become. And in that statement, that embodies a huge spirit that I do actually understand that I have a destiny and have a vision beyond this scarcity, beyond this space. But whatever I am destined to be, it's going to be of my own choosing. I also loved the second one. God, give me the time to grow. Correct my wrongs. Sometimes I blind myself, but now I am accepting my flaws. When I spoke about the comfortable vulnerability, this is the acceptance of understanding that we will all be flawed and we will all have failures, but it does not need to become our belief system, that we can move forward. Shadorian has been there over a year, and I have seen him just personally grow as he takes ownership in these new ideas. Moving forward, every day we give the youth opportunities to put their hands into that creativity, into the space where they can really be seen and heard, but working together, not just within their own communities, but within our own culture. So we have to embody these ideas of growth. We had talked about resurrecting the garden, and now we've got tomatoes. We have brought little tiny teacups, and it's really fun to see the youth be playful in mind. In fact, that's actually our theme for August, to be playful, because playful creates a space in which we can correct trauma, we can rebuild, because it becomes a choice. And when we choose to think a different thought, we choose to think that thought creates different brain chemistry, and that chemistry creates the space that we need to be motivated and move forward with learning. So these are some things. We just recently had some representatives, some drill sergeants from the Army that came, and they challenged them mentally, and they talked about posture and importance of body language and standing strong, being mentally strong and physically strong. I wanted to just kind of show you the picture that you see on the right-hand side was actually, I'd recently been in Europe. And in order to engage them with the concept that the world is big and beautiful and they can take ownership in that, I kind of stopped at each place in London and Paris and Rome, and I stopped at very specific places and sent prayers and wishes and called them in FaceTime and got them to literally look out the window of my hotel to see the Trevi fountain, which was beautiful. And they were just like, wow, that's amazing. And this was at Westminster Abbey, where we literally lit candle for them, just showing them that they matter consistently, and they wake up and they matter. So we are trying to continue to lead, and as a culture, all of the employees there are looking to do exactly what that statement says, which is on a brick placard outside of the building that says, we wish for these lives of juvenile residents to become productive citizens, and is the purpose of this center to help the youth achieve wholesome, productive, and respectable lives, because vision to value means path to purpose. And without purpose, we cannot exist in a joyful way. To think, to feel, to believe is the exact combination in the exact right order that creates exactly that vision. We get to jump literally to the top of the pyramid to be able to work on our mental health, to be able to work on our self-esteem, to increase our happiness on purpose. We choose joy on purpose. This was a piece of artwork that I want to show you when we talk about collaboration and what does that look like. These youth's hands are intertwined, and it brings the color of their spirit and their vision, that vision to value. When you fall behind, we look ahead in life, which is a really interesting concept. These are their own words. These are things that they are starting to choose. We're inspiring them by bringing in other people. The picture there is actually of the football rings of the championship. Keith Davis was a former player for the New York Giants, and he came in, and we literally, this was the coolest thing, I'll show you a picture, but he literally folded a frying pan right in front of us, and I was like, what? That was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, how is he doing that? But he was talking about, even though he's physically in pain, he's literally willing himself to do these things. It was part of the Behind the Walls program. They came in and we got to see some amazing things. It was a mind-blowing day. It was just incredible. So creativity is the key. So thinking, feeling, believing, because we are our memorized chemistry. We are the habits of what we think and what we become. In getting involved as teachers, as staff, as communities is really important because we have the option to show our story, to show the messy parts of our story. I struggled personally with depression and anxiety, and I get the depths of how far that rabbit hole goes and how far fear can hold you back. I use ways to express that through music and through art, but it is the playfulness in which we engage every day, every student, and the way that we think as a culture is how we want to embody what that story looks like, the whole story, and understanding that it's okay to be vulnerable and it is okay to let that shame go for what we've done so that we can move forward. So we stop looking for the storms and we enjoy more fully the sunlight because we welcome it, because we stop looking down and we start looking up. The flag that you see here was a really incredible project that one of the other teachers had brought to light. They created the flag and it was MCJDC, the Independence Day MCJDC way. And that flag was actually finished and created in hand calligraphy by the youth. It was put on the back of the VFW float, and it was taken along through the July 4th parade, showing that vision to me of what it means to be independent. And we talked about that. Every teacher brought something to light about what is independence and how can we be independent of mind and thought and body so that we can create purpose. The picture there you see of Lampkins, it's pretty funny. That is a paper tarantula hanging out of his mouth, but that was our, we really actually did get real tarantulas. And last month was Fear Factor Challenge Day. So it was talking about Fear Challenge, and I actually ate a tarantula leg. And I was fine until that haircut stuck in my tongue. It was really gross. But let me tell you, I got some serious street credibility for that. And so did the rest of the staff who participated. We thought a lot of them were like, oh my gosh, we're actually going to eat this grub. It was amazing. But we talked about fear and we talked about being held back. We also talk about big issues and things that they can take ownership in right now. Mrs. Hoy took on the environmental concerns and how can we increase community and giving. Also, okay, so here's expert life hacks, mind over matter. This was a few more pictures of how we embody bigger pieces and thinking. So Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm sure that all of you have probably read this book at some point of time. But the key thing to me is that are leaders born or made? Actually, neither. They choose to be leaders. We go right back to choice as currency. What are we buying? What kind of life are we buying? The power pose, striking a power pose. I thought it was super cool that the one of the sergeants was literally standing there and I'm like, yep, that's what a power pose looks like, guys. This is what it means to change your own body chemistry on purpose. Have physical awareness of your emotions and change it into something that's supportive. Life hacks applied. We are literally teaching collaboration. They were singing when Mr. Bandingter came, and he does the karaoke and the ping pong was pretty amazing. And there's some closer pictures of the bugs that we ate. I know you're all grossed out, and it was. I ate the biggest roach that was in there, and I was just, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. But mental testing of limits, testing your limits, showing that it is possible to push yourself. I actually participated in that challenge, and I thought I was going to die, but literally one of the youth came up to me and said, but Mrs. Morris, please. And I go by, I have my multi-name, Karla Perretta, just so you know. And they said, Mrs. Morris, you've got to do this. You've got to do this. And if you fall, I will stand there and I will pick you up off that floor. And I had to show them what it looked like to be vulnerable. And I did it. And that is not for a 53-year-old. I can guarantee you, but we pulled a 90-pound sled and we dropped and we sprinted. And I did things that I didn't think I could do. But we lead by example. These are some of the great connecting community people that we're bringing in on purpose. These are speakers and important people who have things to do. New programs that we've just recently added. We brought in Jamie Mathis. One of the teachers has brought Jamie Mathis in to teach a positive. How do we box, and we want to expel these emotions and these things, but in a positive way. You know, learning how to have different types of coping skills that really connect. That was a great program. There's a good picture of the flag float as it went through the July 4th parade, and Mary Austin was the representative of the VFW post. An incredible, one of the most incredible speakers that we had recently was Brigadier General Marlon E. Cook, which is actually a relative of Mr. Caldwell that works as a JDO lieutenant, right? Correct? Sergeant, sorry. And this is a relative of his, and he came from the streets, and he told his story, and it was rough, and it was raw, and it was amazing. And he's from the Pentagon, and he spoke of artificial intelligence and things that was pretty amazing. There's Keith Davis. We are working on the horse program. Those horses will arrive. It's going to be amazing. And so just a few more pictures of how we brought in music. Cultural competency is really important to us. You can see meeting Rosie. That's actually my rat. Facing fears again, tasting things from around the world, embracing what it means to have a culture, but yet share that culture and not be polarized, because our culture does polarize us either politically or emotionally. These are just all little things that we've done and we've shared with them. All of the teachers have participated, and we've had so many JDOs bring in on their own time and talk their stories. These were just more things that we're doing between the Humane Shelter, but the one I want to point out that's really cool is the one there in the middle, the snake, the rock snake. That's actually a rising park, and there was a young child who made that. And we decided to add to that snake. And so every youth made a rock with a visionary mindset word, and those are added now to the snake there at Rising Park. Is pretty cool. The football theme is pretty amazing, and I'm wrapping up now. So music, we're bringing music constantly with the creativity, allowing them ways to speak and tell their story in a safe way. More projects on purpose. We're working on a website to kind of bring all of the services and things and give them a positive space to be seen and heard. So these are all upcoming projects and projects that are currently driven and things that we're just doing to add life and value. Those are our sunflowers that are growing, and when they are done, we will turn them into these little bird seed things. Just kind of cool. So my closing words of inspiration are this. When a child is learning how to walk and falls down 50 times, they never think to themselves, well, maybe this ain't for me, right? When we were kids, we wanted to fly. We just put a sheet around our neck and ran around, right? We just imagined it. And so in my mind, if they think for even a moment, this walk isn't for me, it is all of our jobs to remind them that they matter, that the walk is worth it, that we will be right here to walk with them, and one step at a time until they can walk independently again. Because vision to value, purpose-driven mindset to succeed. It does matter, they matter, and it matters that we make time for them. So thank you so much. I really appreciate the time and space to communicate these things. We would love if you have any suggestions of speakers, or if you yourself want to come in and speak and tell your story just to inspire. You can reach out to either myself or Dana or Brett, Mr. Sark, at any of these. You know how to find us because we all have the same emails. So I appreciate your time. Do you have any questions?
To share another vantage point of what you're doing as the commissioners see it. In the world of youth detention, detention has in many court systems fallen out of favor as a means for dealing with children that are in trouble. But yet there are still children who are a danger to themselves or others, do need the security of this type of environment. But what's happening across the state is MCJDC type systems are on the downswing, if you will. we think in the coming years there will be fewer detention centers for children, and there will be survivors in that situation, organizations that survive, and organizations that don't. And so what's happening here at our local juvenile detention center is a strategy, a goal to set themselves apart from any other multi-county juvenile detention center in the state in terms of the programming and the things that they're doing to try to help these youth. I've shared with folks many times that we commissioners view our primary responsibility as being fiscal. Touching on that, if we weren't fiscally minded as county commissioners from Fairfield County, we would be on the cusp of spending about $1.2 million a year at the multi-county juvenile detention center. Or I think 24 will be somewhere south of $400,000 a year. So I just want folks to understand that we firmly believe that this organization being on the cutting edge of how you're trying to help these children is good fiscal policy. It's helpful to people in Fairfield County. If a Fairfield County youth does need to be detained for a period of time, they can be detained in Fairfield County where their family can still see them, know where they are, and be in close proximity to them. Many counties throughout the state, that's not the case. If a child in most families throughout the state is being detained, it's somewhere else. It's 2 or 3 counties away or something where if they want to see their child, that's the kind of arrangement that they would need to make. So we think these things all come together. I am very, very much appreciative of the new direction, if that's fair, to say, and the engagement that you're having with these juveniles is incredibly moving to me and incredibly appreciated. So I just wanted to share that. I'll see if my colleagues, Commissioner Levesey first, has any questions or comments.
I really can't add to what you've said, but quite frankly, the way MCJDC has transformed itself over the last several years, I think it's an effective program because at the end of the day, we want these youth to come out the other end better than they came in.
That is the goal. It is creating vision so that they can actually start choosing the direction and change of their life. Because that's, in the end, is the best fiscal policy that we could possibly offer. Thank you.
Mr. Fix.
Yeah, I just had to say thank you. Some idea how hard it is to reach these kids. And I know the amount of effort that you're putting into transforming them or trying to make an impact in their lives. And, I don't know that there is a way to measure that, to measure the impact you're making. Because I know that once they move on, right, either to new services or back out into the world, that we don't get report cards back, right? So the fact that you're willing and able to pour yourself into this the way you have for outcomes that you'll never know is pretty amazing to me, that your selflessness is that evident. So I just wanted to say thank you. It's
Thank you.
it's pretty amazing work.
Thank you. And on your point, we actually have a youth, Avante. He actually reached back out to us because he was in the process of actually helping me create some leadership programming for this website idea that we had. And Ms. Moore has been gracious enough to give the opportunity and figure out the structure in which that can happen in a positive way. So he's going to be rejoining us to continue his work because he was that passionate about what was happening. So I think if we can continue to go in that direction, that's amazing.
the
Thank you.
committed, dedicated work that you all do. You have a very genuine nature
Thank you.
and kids see right through us. So I think that's how you're able to impress upon them and get them to open up and take this different approach. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for that.
Thank you.
So among us, some have been around MCJDC a little longer than others, but I think among us, none longer than Dr. Brown. And so I was just be interested in any questions or comments that you might have, given your, I think you were there when they broke ground on the place.
I was on the board when they broke ground. I gotta say, to see this transformation, philosophy grow and evolve, it's been quite a pleasure. I know you're working very hard collectively,
Yes.
and I know it's a difficult thing, and it's the right place for that. So keep
Thank
up the
you.
good work.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, we good? On behalf of the commissioners, I want to thank you all for being here with us today. And we want to thank you for being with them every day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
This time, the commission sets aside an opportunity for voters and taxpayers to address the commission. If you would like to do so, please come to the podium and begin by stating your name and residential address. We do have a 3-minute rule today, as the commission schedule is robust today. Under those terms and conditions, is there anyone who would like to address the commission at this time?
Morning, Ray Stemen, 2444 West Point Road, Lancaster, Ohio. And what I have today came out of a report, the public advocate, which has been around Washington, D.C. for about 35, 40 years. And the gentleman that operates was a former elected official in Washington, D.C. What I'm referring to this morning is something that's rather shocking, but it is something that we have to deal with. And I cannot imagine, having gone into the service, to have some of the rules that I'm going to read to you happen. This deals with, of course, trans soldiers. That now is what our president is now pushing. This memo breaks it down, perks that they receive. First, taxpayer-funded affirmation treatments to include speech, voice therapy, to sound like the opposite sex, hormone therapy, laser hair removal, surgery, and many things. I cannot imagine soldiers working under those conditions and doing what they need to do. The second point is soldiers are exempted from grooming and uniform standards. They are allowed to grow hair and wear whatever clothing they want. That's crazy. Thirdly, they are now exempted from physical fitness standards for life. And all they have to do is renew it every 6 months. And finally, they are considered non-deployable for up to 300 days after taking hormone therapy. This, to me, is reaching overboard for individuals to come in and live off the military for the rest of their life. This is not what we need. Another point I'd like to make this morning is that in spite of what the Supreme Court has decided about gun control, in the National Defense Authorization Act, there is a gun control form in there that they've written in. It's deep. You won't find it unless you're looking for it. But they're trying to permanently have a gun ban put across into the law. And of course, the only way to stop this is to bombard Congress to stop it. They voted to pass a kind of a gun law, this program under National Defense Authorization Act, but I'm sure that what has happened, Mitch McConnell has folded the GOP in the Senate to follow in with the Democrats.
Please conclude your remarks. 3 minutes is up.
And simply right now, I would like to give a short prayer for this nation. Lord, as we come to you this morning, we thank you for the privilege of knowing who you are and the privilege of honoring you. Help us, Lord, to reach out to you. And I'm thinking of what we just heard about transforming these people. These things that we are fighting for are coming right out of the Bible. If you want to see the manual that teaches all these things, read the Bible. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Good morning. Every week I think there's not anything more that can come up about COVID. And I'm going to go to a different subject. Well, I didn't get to do that this week. Judy Stemen is the name. Illegal Chinese biolab discovered in Central California potentially infectious agents including E. coli, streptococcus, pneumonia, and malaria. Next, ex-spies chief says COVID was tailored to be highly infectious, to spread rapidly around the world before it leaked from the Wahoo lab. And this man, Dearlove, told LBC's that the truth about COVID's origin will soon be exposed. Communist China has worked very hard on this, and I have to ask well, haven't we also worked very hard in this county, right here in this county, to influence the narrative among citizens? Horror is the next one. COVID vaccine damage detailed by nurses and hospital staff. And these people witnessed the dangerous jabs killing the people firsthand. And this is on a video that'll be on the thing here. Also, COVID jabs showed 24 times more adverse reactions than other vaccines, an average of 264 adverse events from COVID vaccines were recorded compared to only 11 for all other vaccine types. This is according to a government report. Next, the Facebook files. The effort to censor vaccine information. Silencing is due to unconstitutional pressure from the Biden White House. And Jim Jordan, our own representative from the state, has released what he called a smoking gun document that Facebook has been censoring Americans on behalf of the Biden administration. Jordan said that he has internal documents that were obtained only after Mark Zuckerberg was threatened to be held in contempt, which prove the censoring across the social media platforms due to unconstitutional pressure from the Biden White House. Next, China's public health authorities cracked virus genetic code 5 days before the world knew about the disease. The professor of genetics at Rutgers University in New Jersey added that the attempts to manipulate public opinion began in China, but were later echoed in the U.S. and other Western countries. And I have to say, hasn't there been some manipulation of opinion here in Fairfield County also? That's it. Thank you. Oh, and don't forget this thing about that's on the ballot. Be sure to vote yes on the item 1.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the commission at this time? Well, on behalf of the commission, we do thank you all for coming. Stephen, how are you today?
Fine, thanks, Commissioner.
Good. Do you have any update on legal? Okay, I will be following up with you in the near term out of our meeting this morning. Okay. Appreciate you being with us today. Move on to administration update. Ani.
All right, we can review ARP plan update from the 30.6 received, 28.6 has been appropriated, 14.7 expended, and 5 million encumbered or obligated. Next week's commission meeting is an evening meeting, and it will be held at 7 p.m. at the Wigwam Event Center, which is located at 10190 Blacklick Eastern Road in Pickerington. And appreciate our folks at the Wigwam Center being helpful in scheduling that with us. State of the County, that's just around the bend. It will be August 22nd, also at the Wigwam Event Center. And you can register until August 15th on the Lancaster Fairfield Chamber of Commerce's website. There is CCAO and NACO are highlighting the need for advocacy for 2 bipartisan federal bills to address the Medicaid inmate exclusion policy. So that policy revokes access to federal health care benefits upon arrest, which places that financial strain on jailing entities. In Ohio, this is typically counties. So without access to those federal health benefits, counties are bearing those medical costs and expenses for those folks. So just making you aware of that is something that does have bipartisan support, and NACO is working with the National Sheriff's Association, as well as the Major Cities Chiefs Association and the Major County Sheriffs of America. We also received notice that there was some federal legislation working its way forward on federal weight limit for heavy trucks. And this would raise the federal weight limit of heavy trucks on our nation's roads and establish a 10-year pilot program for states to test 91,000-pound trucks, which would be a 14% weight increase over the current limit of 80,000 pounds. Spoke with County Engineer Jeremiah Up about this, and he shared that it would have a harmful effect on the county's roads. And Jeremiah, I don't know if you want to add anything to that or not.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. The bridges in Ohio are designed for 80,000 pounds. Now, there is a factor safety built into that, but that's part of the design criteria that we use. Just simply changing things to 90,000 pounds. I don't understand how legislators can even consider doing that because, as far as I know, every civil engineer, bridge engineer that's looked at this situation and said there's no way you can do that. I agree with that opinion. There needs to be a lot more thought put into this, and there needs to be some kind of a system or funding in place so that if this does happen, we have the needs we need to replace bridges, fix bridges as they fall apart, because that will happen.
One thing that shocks me about this discussion is it just doesn't seem that long ago that there was there were a couple of sensational bridge collapses.
Correct.
That really caused kind of a murmur, if you will, throughout the country on bridge safety and the need to examine bridges, kind of try to get out in front a little bit on the deterioration. And then, it seems like just as that conversation is almost concluding, they're almost attacking bridges again to make them unsafe again. And I can't comprehend the thought behind that.
So you're exactly right. You're seeing it for what it is. And I think the difference is Federal Highway Administration, they're engineers, they understand what's going on. When the bridges collapsed, especially the one that happened, was the bridge inspections, requirements for bridge inspections, qualifications, everything shot through the roof considerably. There was a tremendous change. But I think what we have is the logistics industry that are talking in the ears of politicians and convincing them, trying to convince them that this is okay and we can do this and the country needs it. But we got, some political motivation over here through the trucking industry and whatnot, and then we've got the reality of the civil engineers at Federal Highway, and they're kind of going in different directions. You're absolutely right.
Well, as you monitor that situation, do you see ways that any commissioners or commissioner staff could be be helpful in communicating on that issue. I think we would all be happy to do that. I mean, I don't know specifically the adverse impact that would have on our local inventory, but I suspect it would be significant.
It would be significant. Along that lines, and I'd be curious to see what the County Commissioners Association of Ohio, what their standpoint is.
I've not seen anything from them yet, Jeremiah. Jeff, have you heard anything?
Well, I'm sure Commissioner Fix will be following up to see if they feel like this is an issue that they need to lean into.
It's a federal issue.
Yep. And I mean, at first blush, it just seems like, I don't know if crazy harebrained idea is the right phraseology, but it just seems like something that couldn't possibly happen. But I guess we're not careful when it will.
It shouldn't happen. We shouldn't have people that are not professionals in that industry making decisions for the professionals in that industry. It deals with people's lives.
All right. Well, I appreciate your input on that issue.
And I'll keep an eye. Maybe it's something that NACO and CCAO, like the previous topic, work together. I'll make sure to share that.
Commissioner Levitt.
So Jeremiah, you and I have talked about this many times. It goes beyond the bridges and the amount of weight you put on. Any asphalt surface is dramatically affected by that as well.
That's correct. And as you all know, there are roads that we put on freeze and thaw limits during the winter, which is where we limit the amount of load that can be on that particular road, because a lot of our roads, they weren't built to a typical standard of a road back in the day. We had dirt, and then maybe we had some gravel, and then, you know, some tar chips started going down on it, and that stuff's built up over the years. They're just simply not designed to handle that kind of weight and that kind of traffic.
Thank you. Ani, please continue.
Last item for week in review is we have our employee public service recognition event today, celebrating a number of employees hitting some milestone years of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 30 plus. So we will be recognizing our own Commissioner Levacy today. And I was sneakily trying to pull out his full public service. He has 10 with the county, about 43 total. So thank you, Commissioner David, or Commissioner Levacy, for all of your public service and your commitment to all of the residents of Fairfield County and all the different capacities you've served. You just fell right into that. Also, a couple folks that I'm seeing around the room that are celebrating some milestones. Corey Clark, I think, is at 25 this year. Dan Neely at 10. We have Amy Brown Thompson. Are you at 20, Amy? Nice job. And Lisa at 25 years. Am I missing anybody else that's in the room that is celebrating a milestone year? I'm sorry, Carrie?
35.
35, okay. All right, we'll move on to highlights of resolutions. Administrative approvals, the review packet does contain those. And then resolution review, there are 15 resolutions on the agenda for the voting meeting today. A couple of note, there's a contract between Crawford, Murphy, and Kelly for the airport hangar design bid and construction management services. Anything you want to point out there, John?
We're ready to get started. We actually have a meeting this afternoon to start off.
All right.
Think more about that. That's our architecture agreement, design, project management for the airport hangar builds.
So this phase, does it have a window or a timeline that we would expect this phase to be completed within?
I would say design, bidding is quicker than average on a construction project, as we're following common things that are found on an airport. So it should go very quickly. I don't know. But I would expect a month of each. 9 months of bidding for beginning construction as early as September.
So if you were just forecasting for the commissioners today, you would expect to be in contract for the build by the end of the year?
Certainly.
And buildings of this nature, would we expect them to be built in 24?
Oh, yes, in 24. I mean, steel is more readily available. Steel structures like this, once they are available and on site, the building goes up in weeks, very short weeks.
I think as it's presented and as the commissioners endorse the project, it's presented in kind of two phases, if you will. Is it being bid out in those phases, or is it being bid out as a single project, or is that yet to be determined?
We'll likely build out as a single project, 2 buildings, or technically 3 buildings, as they share common design elements.
See if my colleagues have any questions on this.
I don't. Very excited about moving ahead on this.
Commissioner Fix.
Exactly the same.
The other one would move to action.
I'm on board.
We also have a resolution to approve a contract amendment between Steedham and Paul, known as SHP Architects, for renovations at the Workforce Center. John, or?
I'll actually let Rick talk to that one. He gets to be a construction guy here.
I know, it's fabulous.
We'll give him a hat.
Yeah, so this is, we're going to reconstruct the engineering technology lab that Ohio University will be the primary users, but Hopkins College will also be able to use that. And the goal is to be able to showcase all the cool equipment there, but also still have the flexibility in that back area. So when we do things like our career expos and other things, that we're able to continue to use that backspace of the Workforce Center for multiple uses. But, you know, Magna, Intel, with all the manufacturing coming, this is critical, you know, probably the most important part, quite frankly, in the Workforce Center, because we need to get students through manufacturing. We have 4,600 employees in manufacturing in Fairfield County. We've got to keep filling those. And this is going to be a great place. So I appreciate John's help in ushering this through. And there's a lot of equipment that OU has moved over. They're moving their entire engineering technology program from their OUL branch to here. So when everybody says when they walk into the Workforce Center, they always see something new. When you walk in there right now, you're going to see tons of equipment, CNC machines, all these other things that have not been. So it's really exciting and can't wait to this project up.
Couple questions, if I might. One, CERBA, formerly known as Retrieve, and I don't know the answer. Are they partners or not partners at the Workforce Center?
Yeah, so we don't have any specific programs leading into them, but they've been working with our career readiness program for years. They come, they speak to classes, so career expos. So we are officially partners. We don't have an apprenticeship program or anything tied to it.
Then the other question I had is if there was what could be described as a dust up during the state budgeting process that the Workforce Center had an interest in, is that dust up completely in the rearview mirror at this point, or do remnants remain?
I think it's the rearview mirror.
Maybe we'll talk more about that later. See if my colleagues have any questions on the goings on and improvements at the Workforce Center. Commissioner Levacy.
Yeah, so Rick, you know, we're real excited. I know over the last several months, you had a lot of concerns about whether that state budget would actually come through. And as a matter of fact, there was times myself that I was wondering, but thanks to many of our state colleagues, they ensured that got to the finish line. I also understand you had a good conversation with the chancellor, is that correct?
Yes, I had a couple calls with the Chancellor for Higher Education, Randy Gardner, and you know this is very unique. So he has a pretty big interest in what we're doing down here, and making sure that as we move forward with programs, they match what the state is looking at. But I'd say he was a 35-minute call with him on Friday, and he sounded very encouraged by. I don't even expand on this, but I think he was very, very happy with. My take was quite frankly part of them trying to figure out, okay, a county government is getting involved in higher education. Do we really know what we're talking about? And I would say by the end of the
You said we were terrific.
I think at the end of the day, I think he's pretty excited about what we're doing here in Fairfield County. You know, I also serve with them on the state workforce board. And so, you know, I think it's all good, and a lot of the credit goes to you, Rick.
He was very interested in, I think, hearing from us, what our take and what we're seeing and hearing and experiencing. And he put a lot of stock in that. So appreciated him taking that time out of his schedule to learn that. A lot of the questions he was asking us, we were pretty sure he already knew the answer to, but he was just on his information gathering journey and verifying stuff. So we felt really good about that.
And you know, one of the major conversations he's having, as well as the state, is about nursing, how that can be expanded. And so
That was one of his areas of interest with us on the call.
It was, and that's going to be one of the, you know, maybe 6 months from now, you'll see another contract that will tie into the nursing part, but we need to move forward with this engineering tech stuff. So we're getting that part done first, and then we'll tackle the other ones as we get a better understanding of what OU and Hawking's vision will be for, you know, the medical side in the future.
Yeah, I was going to mention, it's definitely going to be a phased approach to build out that workforce. I mean, we'll have several projects going on at once in different areas of focuses. It's just the first one that's going to probably get off, and mostly because there's grant funding.
Some are specifically related to the programming, like the engineering tech program here. Some are going to be related to making sure the building will continue to operate and function well.
Expanding that, having additional parking.
One's air conditioning for some reason. I don't see the.
Or something.
Yeah.
Commissioner Fix, questions or comments on this issue?
Yeah, so we're excited we got the $4.5 million in the state budget. Maybe I haven't read the language. Are there any ties to that? Does it have to be used in any certain way? Is it, are we being reimbursed for expenses, or is it just a check coming our way? What are the logistics involved with that?
That was one of the items in the initial call I had with the chancellor. It'll be an MOU with us and them. It's pretty broad how we can utilize the funds. So not a lot of strings attached. We'll account for it separately so we can report back to them on that. But there were a lot of different ways in which we could use the funding. And his goal was to make sure to get that to us as quickly as possible.
And do we have, I know we kind of laid out a plan to ask for the money, right? So is that our plan, or was that just the plan for the ask?
So the amount attached to each school will remain the same. But I'm leaving it up to the schools to decide if they need to pivot. If there's programs that might not make sense now that made sense 6 months ago, that let's have a discussion on how they really want to use those funds. OU's is pretty cut and dry. It's most of it's tied to new engineering tech equipment that is going to help with some of their apprenticeship programs and their Intel semiconductor processing programs. But for example, there's respiratory therapy. There's money for respiratory therapy lab there. OU is looking at running that, creating those across all of the regional campuses. They have a new healthcare dean, whether they want to put that at the workforce center or whether they feel it might make more sense as well. You know, we're open to that. That would free up that money then to invest in something. So I've challenged each school to revisit this and come back in a few weeks to say, yes, this is what we want. Or
So we feel like sometime this fall we'll have kind of what the plan shakes out to be.
we have 2 years to spend it, and having gone through this a couple of years ago, granted, COVID and everything kind of messed with a lot, but we were pushing schools to get stuff ordered and completed so we can.
So my ask would be that when that plan is kind of fleshed out and finalized, we could do a listen.
Love to bring OU Hawking.
Yeah.
That show, but great.
Thank you.
Thanks, and I would like to join that for
Only made one person step down, so.
And last resolution of note would be a resolution to certify consistency of the Fairfield Metropolitan Housing Authority 2024 annual plan with the Fairfield County's community housing improvement strategy. And I see Holly is here. Holly, would you like to add anything to that?
annual certification that we do at the county level, and regional planning assists with reviewing the details of the metropolitan action plan in accordance with our community housing implementation strategy. Everything is aligned, so at this time.
Great, thank you. Budget review, Bart Campson had to exit. He is going to go participate in the CCAO state budget review webinar just to learn a little bit more about different items that related to counties there. So we appreciate him taking the time to do that. Next up, calendar review and invitations received. Rochelle?
The Regional Planning Commission will meet this afternoon at 5:30 at the Fairfield County Records Center. Habitat for Humanity will have a groundbreaking at 325 East 6th Avenue tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. There will be an Eastern Cottontail Open House tomorrow at 4 p.m. at the Pleasantville Community Center. The 2023 Athena Award Ceremony is August 3rd at 5:30 p.m. at the Mill Event Center. The Transportation Improvement District has a meeting August 8th at 1 p.m. at the Records Center. The United Way of Fairfield County has their Community Care Day September 13th, starting at 7:45 a.m. at the Ohio University Lancaster Gymnasium. A save the date was received for the CCAO-CEAO Central District meeting on October 6th at 8:30 a.m. at the Heartland Commerce Park in Mount Vernon. The Commissioner's Office received the following correspondence: 2 press releases from the Office of the County Auditor. The first dated July 25th, entitled Fairfield County Auditor's Office Releases Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. The second dated July 26th, entitled Fairfield County Auditor's Office Releases Popular Annual Financial Report. A memo from County Auditor Dr. Carrie Brown dated July 25th with the following subject matter: unmodified audit opinion and financial reports issued, the single audit, a customer service statistics update, and public records request data. 3 letters from residents regarding solar projects, a letter from Michael Gaynor of Go Rail regarding the opposition of heavier trucks in the 118th Congress's H.R. 3372. A letter from the Ohio Department of Taxation dated July 25th regarding the Fairfield County calendar year 2024 estimate of the county undivided local government fund. A reentry program report dated July 27th from Samantha Green, the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office's Director of Reentry. And the newsletter titled Auditor's Ledger, News from the County Auditor's Office dated July 27th. That is it.
Thank you, Rochelle. That's all we have.
I have a couple items under old business, and I'll certainly give my colleagues an opportunity to share. This past, might have been Wednesday, but whatever day it was, a group of us, a steering committee, if you will, met regarding the work being done by RLS and Associates on the analysis of the situation with Lancaster Transit and its potential to be expanded or governed in a different way in the future. We had some pretty significant talent in that meeting. Prior director Carrie Woody, current director Chaslin Carter, representatives from RLS, Rick Zabrak, Ani Cordo, myself, and Corey Clark were in the meeting. And this meeting pertained to a SWOT analysis of different go-forward approaches on transit. The primary, there were 4, but I'm going to narrow that down to 3 concepts that were meaningfully discussed, leaving transit kind of where it is and how it is. Moving transit from governance by the city to governance by the county, certainly discussed. And a third concept that was within the SWOT analysis would be what's called an RTA, a regional transit authority, which would frankly be governance by neither the city or the county, but governance by a board independent of either governmental entity. And after pretty lengthy discussion regarding the multiple concepts that were being thought through, the group collectively and unanimously was of the opinion that the best solution for just transit and transit in and of itself in the medium term would be the removal of transit from the city of Lancaster governance to Fairfield County. When I say medium term, it's because there was probably some, I don't know if difference of opinion is the right word, but thought given to a future down the road concept of the RTA perhaps being an ultimate solution. Not everybody in attendance at that meeting bought into that longer term viewpoint, but understood why it would be discussed and perhaps considered at some point in the future. So that meeting concluded with 2 or 3 action items coming out of it. The 3 concerns that still need to be addressed are timing as it relates to multiple different fiscal alignments. The federal fiscal year is not a calendar year. State fiscal year is, of course, based on the biennium, and the county fiscal year and the city fiscal year are based on a calendar year. So the consultant is researching those issues about the transfer, the potential impact as it relates to multiple different fiscal alignments. The second issue that was discussed a little bit had to do with just kind of more of a brass tacks mechanics of transfer. We need a lot more information on that. And of course, funding and financing is of some concern in terms of what that would look like in a transferred scenario. Backing up to why I think everybody in the meeting thought transfer to county was probably the best approach. For some of us, it had to do with the nexus between transit and workforce and wanting to fully experience that nexus and connection of people who want to work to employers who want to hire them. I think another factor of some magnitude for some people in the meeting is the city's, at times the city's willingness to transfer could be viewed as a bit of a statement about how they feel about transit. They don't even want it. So we're meeting again in a week,
Monday.
less than a week, to reconnoiter on those issues and continue that process. I'd be happy to answer any questions that my colleagues may have on that. I can give you an early read that operating transit as it currently operates, the transfer would not appear to have a tremendous fiscal impact on the county. Taking transit to where it should or could be probably would have some fiscal consequence, although ameliorated somewhat by matching funds. So there's a lot to dig into there. I currently question whether we will make the arbitrary January 1st thought about transfer. I suspect that as this committee of people continues to discuss that issue, it may be prudent to think a little further out than January 1st. I'm not sure exactly what date. One of the mechanics of transfer would involve rather substantive negotiations, discussions, if you will, between the city and the county, because there are a number of different ways that could be done that would be more or less beneficial from a fiscal standpoint. And so those discussions will need to begin and conclude before, there could be discussions about any specific timeline for the potential transfer. Everybody in the meeting understood that the commission has not taken a position on transfer, that I was merely one of three in this discussion, and that there was no preordained conclusion to these discussions. So I'll stop there for a moment and see if my colleagues have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the progress of analysis on the potential transfer of transit.
So, obviously, this is a very good conversation to have. When I was first elected commissioner, we were providing some funds to the Lancaster Transit. And one of the things that was strange to me, seeing how Licking County operated and why that wasn't a Fairfield County operation beginning, was kind of surprising to me, but we were able to have Fairfield County add to their vehicles. But at the end of the day, I think it best served under Fairfield County and also under the commission. Licking County actually had a board and dissolved that board and brought it back into the county because for some reason it didn't really work. So I'm pretty excited about moving forward.
Mr. Fitz.
So every morning Liz and I take our 3 dogs for a walk around our neighborhood, and a few days ago, about 7 o'clock in the morning, walking through the neighborhood and on a side street, see a Lancaster Fairfield transit bus dropping off a lady. She's waving to the driver as she starts to walk up her driveway, and the driver drives off. And I thought a couple things. I thought, how cool was it that she could get that service at that time of day, at 7 o'clock in the morning on a weekday, to attend to whatever it was that she needed to go and do. It felt really good that our transit authority was there for her. And then I thought, wow, how incredibly inefficient could that possibly be? That we're sending a bus, from Lancaster to Pickerington to pick her up at, maybe 6 in the morning, take her somewhere and bring her back home. And it's kind of that juxtaposition, right? Awesome that we can offer that service. Holy cow, that's got to be expensive. So I am eagerly anticipating learning more about what you're finding out, right? All the data that you're collecting, the cost that would be involved in operating something like this. Clearly, it's part of our 3-legged stool, right? We talk about workforce development, we talk about transportation, we talk about housing. Those 3 things kind of all go hand in hand, and we talk about them every day. So cautiously optimistic and eagerly anticipating more, and really want to show an appreciation for your leadership on this.
I appreciate that. I will share with you one impactful data point that was brought home in the meeting from some analysis that's been done, is if you look at poverty rates throughout the county and you do a map overlay of where that poverty exists and where transit is available, they currently do not marry up. And so that's a concern, because the assumption is that in those most impoverished areas are where transit impediments are most likely to exist. And so you're dead on about efficiency challenges in getting it to those lesser populated areas that have high poverty rates versus a Pickerington area that has, not as significant a problem with poverty as some other parts of the county, but yet still has a portion of the population with transportation impediments. So it's a complex organism with, a lot more to be learned. So we'll be working on that. Staying under old business, just briefly, had the opportunity to attend at least 4, and I'm not sure the exact number, but festival concerts this season. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the board for the festival, and of course, Executive Director Deb Connell. Just once again, as I am every year, really moved by how powerful that festival is to so many people, and the incredible work and detail that goes into these things. Just one quick story. The Monday night concert, I think it was the Monday night concert, got blown out by storms, and the storms raged across the grounds where the festival's primary events are, down trees, equipment blown out, tents strewn all about the facility, fencing blown away. And the festival just put a little note out on Facebook or something that morning saying, anybody that's got a shovel or a chainsaw or a rake or just some hands and feet to help out on the site, we would sure appreciate it. And the magnitude of people voluntarily that showed up that morning to get the grounds ready for another concert that night, just a moving statement about our community and what the festival means to them and how they respond to some pretty challenging times over the course of a festival of that magnitude. So shout out to those volunteers, that hundreds of volunteers that are required to make this festival a success, and just a really, really great run again. So that's all I have on old business. I'll see if Commissioner Levesey has old business.
Thank you.
Commissioner Beggs.
Yeah, so last week I was able to head down to Bremen for the Bremen Chamber of Commerce, and it's a great reminder of the broad spectrum of communities in Fairfield County, right? To drive from Pickerington to Bremen and see the differences and celebrate the differences, right? They've got good things going on over here. They've got a great little chamber, and they're working hard to continue to promote their businesses there and partner with other chambers. And it's a good reminder of the diversity of Fairfield County in some sense. Last week, we also had a chance to talk to Lark Mallory, who works in the
Affordable Housing Trust.
right, yeah. So it's the Affordable Housing Trust, and I'm trying to. It's a government agency in one part. It's a private investment group in another part. Initially based on Franklin County building affordable housing. They're expanding it into a regional entity to all the counties that touch Fairfield County and Knox County, I believe she said.
Right.
And they're creating this affordable housing trust that will help developers build affordable and workforce housing in all these counties. And so we had a really great initial conversation, learned a lot. Long way to go, but was really interested in the business model that they put together and how it could help us as we talk about workforce and we talk about transportation. Now we're talking about housing. This is another tool in the toolbox to help bring more housing into Fairfield County, particularly in the Lancaster area, to support the businesses here that need the labor, that doesn't have a place to live and doesn't have a way to get there. And so, we've been talking about these things for a while now, and we continue to make little incremental progress, right? Giant steps in the workforce center, and big steps in how we're getting people through that and into the workforce. making steps on transportation, making steps on housing. It's sometimes frustrating at how long it takes to get things moving, but we're talking about some pretty gigantic projects here that could have generational impacts on the county. So just wanted to share that. It was a really good starting conversation. We've got a lot to learn yet, but we're starting down the right path. Later this week, we have a conversation with Jeff Woda, the Woda companies, who we're working with the city of Lancaster and his organization, perhaps with the AHT, to potentially build 60-unit, multifamily unit workforce housing project here in the city of Lancaster. So, I mean, we're getting there, right? It takes time and it takes patience and it takes persistence, but we're making progress in these areas, and I feel really good about that.
And on behalf of the commission and the commissioner's office, we thank you for your leadership on that issue. And as people complain about some of those projects, we'll look forward to directing them.
I look forward to those conversations. Thank you, sir.
Hey, under new business, I know we're up against some timelines here. One of the festival concerts I went to was by a group called Everyday People. And one of the members of that band is Fairfield Medical Center's own CEO, Jack Knosso. I knew he was the drummer. I know that he also played guitar, so he came out and played guitar on one of the songs, but mostly he was the drummer. But what I wanted to share with my colleagues and everybody is I had a chance to speak with Jack both before the performance and afterwards. And when I did see him, he gave me a hug, and his hug was just a little tighter than usual. And his expression of appreciation for the commissioner's office in working with our state leaders on the needs of Fairfield Medical Center and the budgeting process was so heartfelt, sincere. I assured him, I really did assure him that my colleagues, Commissioners Levacy and Fix, were much more instrumental than I in the success that FMC experienced in the budgeting process. But I did want to convey to you all that he is over the top in his expression of appreciation for those efforts, and more importantly, for what that means to the operation of the hospital and their ability to serve people who need their services. And I know County Administrator Portal is on top of that issue because it's a little bit unique, and the mechanics of distribution are unique and need to be worked through, and you're doing that, right? Yeah.
With the assistance of Representative LeRay's aide, Nick Rhodes, so appreciate his help on this as well.
So that's all I have on new business. Commissioner Levacy on new.
So today we'll be recognizing Fairfield County employees for their service, many times long-term service. And I'm pretty excited about that because, we have some great employees here in Fairfield County and they deserve to be recognized.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Fix under new business.
Thank you.
All right. Jim Bonson, how are you today?
Good, thank you.
Good. I saw you out enjoying a number of the festival events, so welcome here this morning. Anything you'd like to update us on?
Very quickly, speaking of last week, the Federal Open Market Committee met, also referred to as the Fed, and they did increase the interest rate for Fed funds up to 5.25% to 5.5%. And the impact on the Treasurer's office is that we invest in Star Ohio, and it has been moving in lockstep with the Fed funds rate. And today the rate we're getting is 5.46%. So it's a great overnight rate. We have same day availability of those funds. So it's definitely a liquid investment.
That's fantastic news for that one aspect of county revenue.
Unless you're borrowing money, it's not so great. But other
All right. I fully understand the adverse consequences. Dr. Brown, how are you today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good. It was so thoughtful of you to come to the funeral for our father-in-law. That was very much appreciated, very thoughtful of you. Anything you'd like to share?
Yes, 59.5% of 61.5 million of the general fund projected revenues have been received as of the end of the month. And that's tracking slightly ahead of the 59% expected. And that's because property taxes are a little bit higher in the first half than they are the second half. A couple of categories are behind estimates, attorney fee reimbursements, and transfers that just haven't happened yet. So the estimates for level 3 are in system and updated as well. They attended a virtually a national conference for AGA last week, and a couple of the themes you see repeated at local levels. One is about workforce and the importance of increasing the pipeline in all professions. A couple statistics that ring true in all areas and all industries are that 8% of the workforce tends to be younger, and 25% is able to retire, and that results in a bit of a lack of technical workers, whether it's manufacturing or skilled workers in government. And you see federal agencies robbing from one another. And even during the conference, there was a little bit of lightheartedness in that, but there's a lot of that going on. And in addition, there's a conversation about the great retention. And you see incentives for those who are about to retire or maybe have retired to no longer retire, which is opposite of the conversation that you've heard in the past. It's no longer early retirement, but incentives to continue working. I'll talk a little bit more about the anti-fraud playbook and some of those things later as we update our internal control manual. And highlights of the newsletter, I just want to real quick just point out attention to the customer service statistics, which are very positive. And an example of that customer service, Lori Kidder last week, she stayed on Friday to help a developer who was working on affordable housing. They were out of state. They were doing some research, and she stayed until 6 o'clock to help them so they wouldn't have to make a separate trip to Fairfield County to be exploring some of those ideas. Also want to thank GIS for working with some interns. Mel Friesner in the treasurer's office has been very helpful, helping some folks understand the why of some of the things that are done for the Budget Commission, and I appreciate her help with that. And also Susan Dixon was the photographer for the annual financial report on the cover, and she's very talented with that, so I wanted to thank her for that. The County Parks District also provided the report for the PAFR, the popular report. With those two reports, there are a couple of milestones that have been achieved, and we're going to create lists for some additional audit season work. And then received some very good feedback from realtors in Franklin County. Joe Jackson was one of them. He was very impressed with the tools that we have to organize our materials on our website and to help those that are in the housing market. The very positive news is with DDL. Congratulations to the City of Lancaster for being selected as a 23-24 Ohio Magazine Best Hometown. And you're going to see Lancaster featured in the November, December, and July, August 24 issues. And I'm very excited to hear about that particular recognition for our county seat.
Thank you. And Lisa, how are you doing?
I'm very well.
Good. Anything you'd like to share?
I just wanted to mention, I had been invited by the Lieutenant Governor's office to attend a summit on AI, and I had a change in my schedule. And I just wanted to thank Anthony Iacini for being able to attend that in my place. Hopefully that was a very beneficial. The structure of the day seemed to be more in tune with something that the Workforce Development Center beneficial for them. So hopefully that was, but I really appreciate him attending in my place. I did offer for Mr. Fix to be able to go, but his schedule was already jam-packed for that day. So I appreciate that. And
I think it makes sense that AI went to AI. I mean, it just it all fits together. So, Brandon, how are you doing?
Good for you.
Said any update?
Just that the paving and striping project at the Fairfield Center was completed last week. Looks very nice. I don't know if any of you've seen it, but it looks really great. So thank you to John and Steve for taking care of that.
Appreciate everybody being with us today. Oh, hey, I'm sorry. Would you like to say anything briefly?
The most important thing I had to say was about the bridges. We covered that, so I appreciate the opportunity.
We do appreciate you being with us today, and I'm sorry if I'm being a little pushy, but we're up against a little bit of a timing problem here. So if you would, please rise if you're able. Join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Michelle, do we have any announcements?
I just wanted to remind everyone to wear green tomorrow in support of Child Support Awareness Month.
Thank you. We'll move on to the approval of minutes for July 25th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Please call to roll.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Minutes past 3-0. From the Commissioners, Resolution 2023-8.1.a. A resolution approving an account-to-account transfer in a major object expense category for the Safety and Security Budget General Fund number 1001.
The Commissioners, I move items A and B.
Second. Discussion. Please call to roll.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From the Fairfield County Engineer, Resolution 2023-8.1.c, a resolution to change a bridge load rating on GRE 04 Carroll Eastern Road Bridge.
For Fairfield County Engineer, I move items C, D, E, and F.
Second. Discussion.
Answer questions.
Please call to roll.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. For Fairfield County Facilities, Resolution 2023-8.1.g, a resolution for a contract between Crawford, Murphy, and Tilly Incorporated and the Fairfield County Commissioners for airport hangar design, bid, and construction management services.
For Fairfield County Facilities, I move items G and H.
Second. Discussion. Please call to roll.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Family, Adult, and Children First Council, Resolution 2023-8.1.i, a resolution to approve additional appropriations by appropriating from unappropriated into a major expense object category, Fund Number 8160, Help Me Grow Fund Number 8307, Prenatal Cluster Fund Number 8280, Parent AMH.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Call to roll.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Job and Family Services, Resolution 2023-8.1.j, a resolution to approve additional appropriations by appropriating from unappropriated into a major expense object category, Fund Number 2018 Public Assistance Fund.
For Fairfield County Job and Family Services, I move items J and K.
Second. Discussion. Call to roll.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Juvenile Probate Court, Resolution 2023-8.1.l, a resolution to appropriate from unappropriated in a major expenditure object category, Juvenile Court Fund Number 2036, Department of Youth Services.
So moved.
Discussion. Please call to roll.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Prosecutor, Resolution 2023-8.1.m, a resolution accepting the amended Victims of Crime Act grant for October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023, grant to be administered by the county prosecutor.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Please call to roll.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Regional Planning Commission, Resolution 2023-8.1.n, a resolution to certify consistency of the Fairfield Metropolitan Housing Authority 2024 annual plan with the Fairfield County's Community Housing Improvement Strategy.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Please call to roll.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. Payment of bills, Resolution 2023-8.1.o, a resolution authorizing the approval of payment of invoices for departments that need Board of Commissioners approval.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Please call to roll.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. The next regular meeting is scheduled for August 8th, 7 p.m. at the Wigwam Event Center on Black Lick Eastern Road in Pickerington.
Thank you. I know it was a content-rich meeting, but I'm hopeful that people will find a moment during the remainder of your day to consider some of what you heard about what folks are trying to do at the Multi-County Juvenile Detention Center. I hope you were as moved as I by that. I'll accept a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
I got a motion to adjourn in a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. The commission is adjourned, and we thank you all for coming.
It's all right. See y'all.